thing I have to do now is hit the tape. That's it.
Too early.
In the beginning.
That's good. Now let's take it off of pause. Bye.
And it'll start counting. I'll still, because I have OCD, I'll come back over here and be like,
But I'll write
count
a
down stuff.
blurb.
The Christmas.
Christmas party. All right.
Only record 3 hours and 6 minutes and 24 seconds.
We'll just tell them you're a humbug, you know.
I don't believe in Christmas, right? That's right.
I did. Yeah. All blanks.
Okay.
Everyone ready? Call this meeting of the Kent County Commissioners to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we observe a moment of silence in memory of all our first responders, police, fire, EMS, as well as those in the armed forces of the United States protecting our freedoms. Thank you. Okay. We have an invitation from the Kent Association of Riding Therapy, CART, for their cordially invite you for our support. The 54th Annual Chestertown Antique Show and Sale, November 24th, 5th, and the 26th of this year at Washington College at their Johnson Lifetime Fitness Center in Chestertown. Sunday, of particular interest, they'll have a World War II author, U.S. Air Force Reserve veteran John Reardon, Lieutenant Colonel, will also be there. The weekend admissions are $8, includes a free catalog. From Davis Moore, Sharon and Associates, LLC, is a proposed workshop addition on the lands of Willard's Agri-Service of Lynch. This is Kent County Tax Map 20, Parcel 83. This letter is to inform citizens in the area of the above referenced project. This project has been submitted to the Kent County Planning Office as part of a minor site plan review process as is required by county code. Willard's Agri-Service of Lynch is proposing to construct a 3,500 square foot addition to their existing workshop. Anybody have any questions, please call their attorney at 443-262-9130. From the same law firm, Creophil Fibers, Inc., processing facility additions out in Wharton, informed that the project has been submitted to the Kent County Planning Office as a part of a site plan review process as required by the county code. The Creophil Fibers Corporation is proposing 4 building additions to 3 of their 4 processing buildings totaling 23,264 square feet to assist in shipping and receiving. A new rail siding is also proposed that will terminate at an elevated concrete platform. You can call the aforementioned number for any further information that you may desire. Also, I have a letter from the Department of Planning, Housing, and Zoning that on Thursday, December 7th at 1:30 p.m., the Kent County Planning Commission will review the application submitted by Creofield Fibers Corporation requesting a concept review and preliminary site plan approval of the aforementioned project. Okay. Meeting will be held in the County Commissioners Hearing Room, this room, and is open to the public. There's a request for amendment to the Kent County Comprehensive Water and Sewage Plan of October 2012. It's a request for an amendment, and the property is located on tax map 28, grid 3B, parcel 160 is currently zoned agriculture, and the partial B, 46 acres, is on Chinkopin Road, south of Wharton. Survey plat does not show any buildings on the property, and the property owners are seeking to achieve protection for health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Kent County by promoting the development and maintenance of sanitary conditions through requesting this change in the comprehensive planning for the future addition to the water and sewage system. The change provides a view to the future needs and a solution for good future development. Okay. There is no proposed structures to be constructed on this parcel at this time. Okay, we have 3 sets of minutes: regular minutes, closed session minutes, and liquor minutes for October 25th.
So moved. Second.
Properly moved and second, the aforementioned minutes be approved as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously. So the report out of closed sessions held on October 25th. In the closed session, the commissioners discussed the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or official over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or in any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals in accordance with the general provisions article, section paragraph 3-305, subparagraph B1 of the Annotated Code of Maryland. The reason for closing was to consider an individual's qualifications for a temporary employment assignment. We have one raffle permit for a combined gaming device from the University of Maryland, Chester River Health Foundation. This is to be held at the Garfield Center at 210 High Street in Chestertown, and this will be held on November 18th of this year from 7 to 11 p.m.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Properly moved and second, the aforementioned application be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously. Okay. It's Phil Ciccone. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Please come forward.
Good, thank you. Good to see you.
Bill?
Please have a seat there.
Good job on the name. I just want you to know. Said like a true paisan. But I'm here this evening to speak to you about Eastern Neck National Wildlife Refuge and the personnel situation that is occurring there. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for giving me time to inform you of what's happening. I have with me Dr. Lou Hale and another board member from our board of directors of the Friends of Eastern Neck. Melissa Bale, our president, had a conflict and asked me to take on this responsibility for her. The Friends of Eastern Neck is a civilian volunteer group in support of the Fish and Wildlife Service Refuge. As such, we have no real ownership in the refuge at all, but we are reactive to whatever the Fish and Wildlife personnel want us to do. Strictly volunteers, many of us retired. What's happened recently is that Cindy B. Miller, who was the manager of the refuge, has taken another position in a refuge on Long Island. And currently, there's only one full-time person at the refuge, and he is a maintenance person. And we're picking up vibrations, and through our intuition, we can see that the vacated position may not be filled. The federal government has slashed fish and wildlife budgets since 2008 by 30%. And we're starting to get the critical mass where they're not able to backfill positions. And we think that this is understandable. We understand hard times. But by the same token, we believe Eastern Neck is too important to our community to allow it to lie fallow with just one person. And there's even the possibility that it would be closed entirely. Our Friends group has worked assiduously over the last 20 years since our establishment to be in support of the refuge and provide funds and many, many volunteer hours. There have been times when we've provided equivalent hours that are even more so than the number of people who are full-time employees at the refuge. In 2016, more than 40,000 people from 16 countries and 37 states signed a register at the visitor center, and that doesn't even include those who came onto the island and didn't sign the register. You know, people who were paddling, walking the trails, crabbing, whatever. So it's also a resource for bay-based tourism in Kent County. And what happens often is people who come to the refuge will explore the area of Rockall and Chestertown. They'll shop in the area, buy gasoline and whatever. In the past, the refuge has been used as a place for interns to learn about the environment. We have worked in concert with Washington College students to have them design a Bayscape butterfly garden. So there's a lot of synergy into the local community. We're beginning to be concerned and worried about our volunteers because many of them are elderly. There are many women volunteers, and it has not sunk in yet that they're going to be down there. We man the refuge bookstore 7 days a week, and they're beginning to determine, well, we're here by ourselves, and it's creepy. It's the end of the line, and what happens if somebody comes in with some nefarious ideas? And I could see where they would want to not be there, and I'm already fielding questions to that effect. The bookstore is the financial engine that the Friends use to provide funding to the refuge, and our resources, our pockets as a Friends group are deeper than the refuge itself. We have more discretionary money than the feds do, and they come to us with monetary requests. There was a time when the Bay was cutting through a road and was going to swamp the road, and they came to us for funds to buy rock to prevent that. And we didn't think it was our place to be given the federal government money, but we did, because our mission is to preserve the refuge, and that would have been sort of catastrophic. So there is the refuge headquarters building is historic. It's 1933 building, has a lot of artifacts in it, duck decoys, punt guns, battery guns. They're all manner of historic artifacts. And we're worried about it falling into disrepair. We're worried about vandalism and theft. And there are people out in the area who come ashore looking for artifacts. They're probing, and they will come up almost like ninjas at night looking for burial grounds, and that really is to be avoided at all costs. So we believe that you all could help us by getting the word out to the politicians, senators, and Congressman Andy Harris. But I'm sure that your weight on a well-written letter will make a difference. We think that it's probably not going to work well for you to attempt to address the people up at the headquarters in Hadley, Massachusetts, because Dr. Lou and I have written letters. We've received responses just yesterday, and I'll read the one paragraph that is really salient here. The service is currently under a hiring freeze, and few positions are being filled due to budgetary concerns. If the National Wildlife Refuge System continues on a flat or declining budget, the increases in cost of living and inflation affect our ability to hire and replace positions. We are currently funded through December under a continuing resolution, and we should know more regarding our ability to replace positions once the fiscal year 2018 budget is signed into law. That doesn't fill me with hope. When I see that, there are a lot of weasel words and wait and see sort of things. But I'm really concerned. I really am, and I don't know. We went through this before in 2009, and Wayne Gilchrist asked me to go to Congress, a committee in Congress, and we spoke about the same thing. But this continuing eroding of personnel is really it's taking its toll, and I don't have a solution because it's beyond me. So that is my unhappy story for you. Anything that you think you would like to help us with, I would draft anything, letters, any kind of documentation or missive that you would like. If you would like us to work with you, we would be most pleased to do that.
I think the refuge is an integral part of our community, and I think that would be beneficial for us to weigh in on that area. If my colleagues do agree, and I think if you can get with our county staff, craft a letter to our congressional delegation, both senators and our representative, to maybe they can step up to the plate and see what happens.
That'd be wonderful. And, may I work with, I know Ron best, so may I work with him?
When it comes to writing a letter, Phil, we might be better off to work with our real staff. No, they're
Staff right over here.
but we are listening. We're truly supportive, but we understand the importance of East Neck Island, as President Pickram stated, and anything we can do as far as trying to write some letters and explain the situation. I think you've done a great job in your presentation.
Thank you.
Some of the things you pointed out about how important it was and how things erode, and that's too beautiful a place to allow it to erode. So if you could give them some language, and Sandra there up against the wall there, you can contact her and talk to her, and she'll certainly help you and put that letter in the right spot.
So may I give you a story? Quick story.
Go ahead.
Thank you. 9/11 happened, and the following Saturday, we were to dedicate a flagpole. And it was like, should we do this? Shouldn't we do it? And we said, no, we're going to do it. So we went ahead and did it, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place, dedicating the new flagpole. And on cue, almost, 3 eagles flew over in formation. I thought, incredible.
Beautiful spot.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
I don't know.
You took credit for that, didn't you?
I would also ask my colleagues to actually write a letter to the entire 36th district to ask the governor to get involved as well.
Oh, that'd be great.
The governor can get involved, putting pressure on the feds, Andy Harris, et cetera. Then it'd probably be a good thing to do that too, because it's not just us; it's state of Maryland that will be affected by.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm at your disposal. My time is your time. Okay.
I think
Well, it's
the important
their
part
time.
for our staff is the language you can help them with, and
Sure.
how you describe the deterioration of the bark and things, so they can incorporate that into their letter.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you. And we see for every meeting, we see your representative always sitting here.
Yeah, but I'm not one of the elders.
Okay. Stephanie Jones, our environmental planner.
Okay, you may remember I think it was in September, Brian and Brett did a presentation for the Eastern Shore Climate Adaptation Partnership through the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. And now they are looking to apply for a grant. They're hoping to get a letter of support. Basically, that grant would be to help fund the meetings that we have, the bi-monthly meetings. Also, they would be doing they'd be going through a couple things that the counties actually already have done. The vulnerability study that was done and completed last year. They're hoping to do the same mapping for the other 5 counties that are basically part of that Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. What they did is do 3 different scenarios for sea level rise. And basically it helps other counties too, because a lot of counties don't have the money to spend on engineering firms to go out and do that work. So having that grant would be very helpful. Also, they'd be looking at producing those scenarios and then Also doing the VCAPS process, which we have gone through to do the vulnerability study. And we would be doing it as the 5 counties together in that meeting instead of just, we did it within our county, but doing it within the 6 counties that the Eastern Shoreline Conservancy helps with. It would be an eye-opener, see how other counties are dealing with certain things. And basically that would just be within the members of that group, not the actual everyone in the county. But also they would be they're hoping to create 2 technical guidances from going through that process. That would be a floodplain ordinance. It would be an example of a floodplain ordinance and a capital investment plan. Basically that the 6 counties could use as guidance documents.
Okay.
All right.
I make a motion that we provide our environmental planner with a letter of support for climate resilience funds.
Yeah. Probably moving second to execute a letter of support for the 2017 grant application to the Eastern Shore Lands Conservancy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
How much money are they planning on getting for this?
I don't know if there was a dollar amount. $68,400. So, that's the amount.
Not much.
Yeah, it's something, I guess. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This- Chester River Wellness Alliance, please.
First, I get the privilege of introducing Pam. What I've learned in the last couple years from doing economic development, we have a really robust business ecosystem in Kent County with business associations and chambers, SCORE chapter, etc. So normally I wouldn't be a proponent of a new organization because I usually feel like they can fit in somewhere else, but this is definitely not the case. This one fills a unique niche to support a major strength in Kent County because people come to Kent County to heal, to live, to relax, refresh, find balance. And given the direction of healthcare leading towards wellness and prevention, I think we are and wellness practitioners are flourishing right now, and we are very fortunate to have a lot of them here in Kent County. So this organization, and you'll see the progression, the very quick progression that this organization has went through. So I feel the Chester River Wellness Alliance is perfectly aligned to take advantage of this strength. So without further ado, Pam White, who is the president of the Chester River Wellness Alliance.
Thank you so much, Commissioners. We're so very excited to introduce to you our organization. We've got several board members and members here tonight. First, we've got Trish Gruber, who is CEO of Chestertown Natural Foods, and she's a certified nutritional consultant. We've also got Kathy Nauman, our secretary, who is a natural nutrition coach, and she's the health coach for Dixon Valve, as well as a physical therapy assistant at Heron Point. And then we've got some great health and wellness practitioners who administer to the health and wellness of this community on a daily basis. I'm Pam White, and my background is actually in documentary filmmaking. I moved here 3 years ago after a serious accident on my horse, and I was looking at 14 months of healing. So I was bolted together on the Western Shore, and I ended up spending the next 14 months healing on the Eastern Shore. And it was these health and wellness practitioners who made me a believer in their ability. They're extraordinarily talented health and wellness practitioners. We come to you today because we want to contribute to the education, the health, and the empowerment of our community. Our health and wellness practitioners are an extraordinarily talented group of small business owners who administer to the health and wellness of the community on a daily basis, and we have dozens of them here. However, many residents or neither residents or visitors understand what they do or realize that they're here. So we feel like that the Chester River Wellness Alliance can be a link to residents and visitors, just as the Arts and Entertainment District stands as a pillar of attraction to the community, just as our environment and the recreation it inspires stands as a pillar of attraction to the community, just as our history and colonial architecture, just as all of that stands as a pillar of attraction, we believe health and wellness can also stand as a pillar of attraction to the community and contribute to its prosperity. So we are the Chester River Wellness Alliance is a nonprofit organization of health and wellness providers, business owners, and advocates who promote the services of health and wellness practitioners, educate and administer to the health of the community, promote Chestertown and its surrounding area as a vibrant wellness destination. What is Healing Arts and Wellness? Healing Arts and Wellness takes the broadest possible view of healing, that health is not just the curing or absence of illness or disease, but the fostering of positive opportunities for self-knowledge, resilience, and growth. Incorporating the healing arts into health acknowledges the role of beliefs, emotions, stress, social connections, environmental factors, creativity, and spiritual connection in health and well-being. And I might add at this point that it's also a $33 billion a year business, and it attracts, and that's a conservative estimate, and it is attracting it's one of the fastest growing career tracks for kids entering college. So health and wellness could be a piece of the puzzle to help turn the tide or trend of losing young people who aren't moving back. So we have dozens of health and wellness practitioners, and what are they? You may know them as acupuncturists, as estheticians, clinical herbalists, holistic health coaches, home care providers, massage therapists, life coaches, psychotherapists, nutritionists, patient care coordinators, personal trainers, physical fitness instructors, reflexologists, Reiki masters, spiritual and pastoral care counselors, yoga and Pilates instructors. These aren't people we hope to have in the Wellness Alliance. These are people who are already members of the Wellness Alliance. And what I like to say is, in other words, we've got a group of modern medicine women and a few good men too, who can administer and educate to the health of this community, and we need to support them in any way that we can. The Chester River Wellness Alliance, we see it's structured with three strong arms. One is community outreach, one is to support health and wellness providers and business owners, and the third is tourism outreach. Our backstory is that we met for the first time in 2016, late summer of 2016. By October 2016, we had a ratified mission and a board. By December, we were certified as a 501c3. In 2017, we established our monthly meetings for board and membership. We coalesced membership we're up to nearly 50 people now. We've launched no-cost, low-cost outreach programs through social media, through an educational booth at farmers market and health and wellness fairs. We've connected with businesses and organizations, developed and submitted funding proposals, conceptualized programs and initiatives, and launched a website and other marketing materials. Our programs include, our program initiatives include wellness talks and a curriculum at Washington College. Our wellness talks is our version of TED Talks. It provides our members with a platform to give 18-minute stories where they share compelling stories, expose crazy myths, reveal innovations, and surprising ways in which small shifts can make big changes. We were recently approved for a 6-week course at Washington College through WCAll, in which we will have members teaming up each week to provide education on a variety of modalities. We are also launching our film series. We want to sponsor a quarterly film series focused on the health and wellness needs of the community. It will feature award-winning documentaries and include discussions with filmmakers and health professionals. And a very special thank you to the Kent County Commissioners for sponsoring our first film through the Economic Development Office. You should have received an invitation at this point for a film that's called Written Off. It's a documentary that is based on the journals of a young man who died of his addiction to opioids. And it will be at the Norman James Theater Friday at 7 p.m. And we certainly want to thank you very much for your support and sponsorship and hope to see you there. We've also launched our website called crwell.org. And if I can get out of here, and then I'm going to do, no, that's not what I'm going to do. How do I make that big? Oh, right. Okay. There we go. Okay, so what we've done with the website is we've talked directly to the consumer. This is a fairly sophisticated website in terms of its breadth. So first of all, we've decided to let people realize that health and wellness is a journey. It's not a destination. And so we're here to support them on their journey and to link them to health and wellness providers. These are our health and wellness providers. Is that a little small, Karen? Okay. So here are our variety of health and wellness practitioners in our community. And you can take a look right here. I'm going to say, I'm interested in acupuncture. So I go there, I click on that, and then I see all the acupuncture folks in our community. And I want to see what Chesapeake Traditional Acupuncture is about. So I have a brief thing there and brief description, and then I go to Brittany's acupuncture page, where it's all about Chesapeake Traditional Acupuncture. And then we also launch, if you want to know more, you can go straight to her page. I probably shouldn't have done that. All right. So let's say you're not sure what acupuncture is. And so we have a description page here, which is educational to the person. You can learn more about acupuncture and Chinese medicine. Here are some tips and questions that you can actually ask a provider, potential provider. We also feature our events, and if you want to come back here to the home page, under tourism, or also here under towns and attractions, we are already promoting us as our community as a place where you can go to heal up or wind down. And this it's a collection of enchanting historic towns and communities to sit on the banks of the 43-mile-long Chester River. And we've got Chestertown. We feature Chestertown, Rock Hall, Eastern Neck Wildlife Refuge, Sultana, Betterton, the Garfield, and additional more attractions that these are all links to. I'll also mention that we've already spoken to Bernadette Bowman and Maureen Harris in terms of creating travel itineraries, sample travel itineraries for travel writers, to invite them to our community to sample some of these services.
Are you talking about perhaps setting up like a tour of things people can come here on a Saturday and do, as far as start the morning with acupuncture, do your Reiki and whatever else?
Absolutely, and we're even thinking bigger than that. We're thinking in terms of having programs for people who have just kicked chemo and their caregivers, and you can come here and you can talk to a certified nutritionist and herbalist, and you can get some acupuncture to help you manage your pain or nausea. You know, there's yoga. We can help create these itineraries for people, a menu, if you will, of activities that aren't necessarily, spa related, but certainly spa related activities are included. I mean, there's nothing better than being on a sailboat in the middle of the Chester River, or the Chesapeake. So you combine health and wellness with what we already have and promote that you leverage it. This is something that what I understand, what we were told by some travel writers, is that people are willing to pay top dollar for silence. This is what we're at the cusp of attracting people who need healthy vacations. Does that answer your question?
We don't have a shortage of silence.
I got first customer for you right out there. Mr. Wayne Morris, introduce yourself.
Okay. Let's see, let me go back here. Let me find this. Okay. Let's see. So our goals for 2018 is we've spent the last year, 2016 and 17, building a solid platform. And now we want to build infrastructure to actively link people to providers. And what that looks like to us is that we build partnerships, develop programs, and hire staff. The first thing we'd like to offer are health navigation services. So while many of us could benefit from some support modalities, most of us don't know what they are or how they could best support us. So we would like to offer a health coach who simply educates people about the different types of services that could possibly support them in their health and wellness journey, healing journey. We'd like to partner with donor agencies. We've already spoken to Rosie Ramsey Granillo from Kent County Family Partnerships in terms of creating programs for kids who've had adverse childhood experiences, ACE kids. And again, we're launching our curriculum at WCAll. Begin tourism development. Again, we want to partner with local businesses and organizations, including B&Bs, restaurants, and the Sultana or river cruises, a variety of businesses and organizations where we could put together packages for people and kind of take them from beginning to end with their experience here. We would, if you think of this as, many women and men go to resorts, to spas and resorts, and they're overpriced and they're once-in-a-lifetime resort experiences. But what we could do in Chestertown is provide, this is the place you come to again and again. It's an entire community that embraces you and supports you on your health and wellness journey. We'll create programs for wellness vacations, healing retreats, and corporate and team building retreats. We'd like to hire a part-time executive director as well as a health navigator. Our operating budget's our goal for 2018 is to have an operating budget of $82,000. And although we are not here requesting funding, we would hope to at some point be able to look to you for letters of support. Our funding sources so far, God bless our membership. We've invested in a vision, and right now we're paying at least $75 a year per member. Community members or advocates can join, and small businesses can join for $50 a year. We'll have fundraising activities. We've reached out through a number of grant programs as well as donors. If by chance you would like to help us make a difference in our community, you're certainly welcome to join or donate online at crwl.org. And checks can also be made to Chester River Wellness Alliance. I will mention that Bob Miller is our treasurer, and he's got 30 years of experience in finance and accounting for nonprofits. So that's my presentation in a nutshell, and I'd be happy to take any comments or questions or suggestions at this point.
The only comment I have is that I actually think it's a great idea, and it's we that live here and lived all of our life here, we take a lot of what's around us for granted. But I've met very few people in my life that once they visited Kent County didn't think, wow, that's a great place and it's got a lot to offer. So I think you're right. I think bringing people here to enjoy what we have is not a bad idea.
Thank you.
I do agree with that, but be cautious about your Chestertown Center. You seem to focus on Chestertown. We are Kent County Commissioners.
Sure, and it's kind of a shortcut of saying the Chester River communities and the towns and attractions along that. But yes, I hear you. Thank you.
But there is an enormous amount to offer here that a lot of us just take for granted.
Yep.
True. Our slogan is Jamie has it. Our economic development slogan here in the county is if you could work anywhere, you would live here. And I think that pretty well speaks volumes for what we have to offer.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Don't get up. Jamie Williams has some other things.
Before I get started on the agenda, if you don't mind, I just want to share a couple STEM activities that took place the past couple weeks. So, Commissioner Pickram, you nudged county staff to get involved with the Maryland STEM Festival. So I want to share that the Parks and Rec was very involved. They had meetings to make sure that all of our events were in Kent County were registered. They also did a brochure that we were able to pass out, and then I also was able to provide that to the local radio stations so they could promote the STEM activities. We did a career fair at the Hot Desk location. We actually had 6 companies come and set up there. The intent was to invite middle schoolers and high schoolers to come see the companies that are here in our community, as well as the STEM professionals and the careers that they can have right here in Kent County. So that was well attended by employers, not very well attended by the students, even though it was advertised. So the good thing was at the end of that, it wasn't like, okay, this was a failure, we're not going to do it again. All of the companies, we were all talking about what we could do next year to make it better. And we've actually also talked to a couple of the representatives from the school board to perhaps have it at the high school during school hours and have a time when the kids can actually come and visit those companies. And Dixon Valve actually had a 3D printer there, and they were able to print this. So I thought that was really pretty cool. So I was able to keep that. Then on November 11th, this past Saturday, there was an F3 tech event. The F3 is the farm fish food that the Eastern Shore Entrepreneurship Center is trying to promote throughout the region. So they had a challenge. We had 3 teams, and when I say we Mike and Lewis from Washington College GIS did all the heavy lifting on this one. I basically just supported them. But they had 3 teams. They had one team that was addressing food waste, and there were 2 Washington College alumni on that team. And then phosphorus mitigation had 1 Washington College student, 1 Chesapeake College student, and 2 Kent County High School students, which I was really pleased with that. And the third one was Live Smart, and there were 3 Washington College students on that team. I haven't found out the results of that. I was there early in the day taking photos, but I did not get to go back at the end. But at that tech challenge, Mike was there from ESAC, as well as two of the mentors from TEDCO were there to help, as well as a local entrepreneur donated their time to work with the students. So it was a pretty well-attended event. So I wanted to share that. So now down to business. I have 2 things on the agenda. One is I am requesting some funding to do some marketing to residents, and I did provide the information about the unemployment rate and the need to market to residents and add to our population. If one of the basic goals of economic development is retention and expansion of your local businesses, and our local businesses are having a hard time finding employees. There's just not a workforce out there. September, our unemployment rate was 3.5%. And I know we can say a lot of people aren't looking, and we take into all those factors. We can look at all of that, but still we need a population to draw from for workforce. So I'm requesting $10,000 to be transferred to my budget to do some marketing.
How are you going to, what's your outlets of marketing?
Radio, print, and I haven't decided on all of that at this time, but definitely some local radio, WKHS, WCTR are 2 of the radio outlets. I think I had one more I'm trying to remember. Yes, Middletown has, WCTR now has a radio online, so reaching out to that Middletown population is one thing that I want to be able to try to do. So, but I haven't decided all of the outlets yet.
Right, but your strategies to get people to listen to those ads to come here for employment.
To come here and work, or come here and live, and hoping that the other will follow. Yes.
The each one of those broadcast stations, what is their listening population?
I don't know that offhand, but I do have some statistics from the online station that I can share with you. How it's evolved just since in the last 6 months, how many hits it's getting.
High school is like
I'm sure I have it.
45 to 50 mile radius that goes into Baltimore, as far down as,
barely. Just barely.
No, you hit Baltimore, Glen Burnie, right on around the area in the circumference, and then
I can get that information.
only 2 counties, and on good days it'll go a little further. But I don't know much about the Middletown.
I do have some stats on that I can share.
Would you be bringing back, if we allocate this money, would you be bringing back those concepts or those for us to have at least a listen to first before the money's spent on?
If you
how it's gonna be done?
If you would like that, I just have to say that time's my enemy right now. So just trying to get things done in the course of a day, so that would add another layer to what I'm trying to do.
Who will
But
be helping
I will
you
do that
this?
if I need to.
Who else? I don't need. I was just asking the question.
What are interns?
You're right, and as I'm saying, who else is going to be helping you with that?
I have 2 interns that one will start on Monday and hopefully the other will start on Friday. So, I'm going to see what I can train them to do. But that's, I'm sorry. And then another person that will be helping me with this is Sandy from Platinum PR. That's what part of the money that I want to use is for some development of a previous ad that she did as a concept. So I'd like to tweak that to work for what we're trying to do here.
And then next year you'll ask for it in your budget.
Yes, now that I understand.
I'm really kind of somewhat reluctant to support this because I don't see this being completely fleshed out yet. Okay. And the entire plan, marketing plan, et cetera.
Okay.
I would move it under the contingency that you come back when you have this nailed down a little better, but just so we don't have to redo the dollars. You know how much money you want, but just so we have a better concept of what your goal is, perhaps.
And how would, and maybe take a look at how we would measure the success of the investment. I don't know whether.
When it comes to advertising, and I think we know this is very hard to measure, very difficult.
But maybe if we had an idea of the message we were trying to send, as Billy and them point out, we'll take a look at it. How's that?
Return on investment.
Okay. I feel like with, we really put a lot of emphasis on internal marketing, and I was able to share some stats on that. And with a little focus on external marketing, we could have the same effect.
If you can nail it down like over the next week, or just so we know, and whether it's talking, well, that it's not a negative thing. Just to know that the funding is going to a place where it's strategically being, and absolute support the part of economic development. But I don't know if the next economic development meeting, that concept could be actually something could be put together, or where can you pull that from? This won't be the first time it's been done. So there's somebody that can have this discussion with to say this is the format that it can follow and be justified.
When you look at it, and I'll just use WCTR as an example. They're a commercial station, and they look at where they put their advertising and how much return they get. Same as with our outlets, the Kent County News. They look at what they return for their advertising. That's part of their marketing. You don't go to the Kent County News. I want to put an ad. They should be able to explain to you what the impact of an ad and what the effect is going to be.
I guess my point is the bigger net, not just concentrate in Kent County.
I just used that
no,
example.
right. But if we have the bigger net, if it's bigger radio stations that are, whether it's WCT or not WCTR, 93.1, the big stations, the ones that listeners outside of our little geographic.
I hear what you're saying, but I think that's going to cost a lot more than $10,000.
Well,
there's a big difference in the spot rate.
I hear his famous voice on Sundays.
Yeah, and I'm Hometown Multimedia is a client, so I'll disclose that. But the high school station is very niche. It has specific programs. It's like block formatted, where WCTR is like a general interest radio station, mass appeal. So even though one station may cover a greater area geographically, that doesn't necessarily mean there's more people listening.
What the listening audience is, it's the same thing as what our tourism office does. So same thing.
Like you put in a newspaper, where's the newspaper circulate?
Okay.
So then the last thing I have on the agenda is request for the support of a resolution for the conditional loan fund for Dixon, and this is, I believe this is a formality at this point. It's already been approved, and this is just part of the paperwork process that's required by the Department of Commerce. It has been reviewed by Tom as well as Commerce's attorney, and it should be ready to be.
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second to approve resolution 2017-11 in support of Dixon Valve, etc. Conditional loan in the amount of $1 million from the Maryland Department of Commerce. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
I was on it. Jan.
Thank you. Wayne Morris with an explanation.
They gave you.
Okay. Been going on that long.
Okay, as a
Not my call.
for the public is concerned, we realized that we had a structural deficiency in our organization, and we've attempted to hire a public works director, which has been a challenge. In the interim, we've sought, and he's accepted Wayne Morris to fill that position on an interim basis. Explain that right?
Sounds good to me.
Okay?
Yes,
All right.
very much so.
You're on.
I'm on. All right, well, I've got three things on the agenda tonight. One is a request from Dan to use some money out of his budget for striping the roads. He wants to use, I think it's $23,000 for this part of the budget, or for this part of the striping, and then once spring comes around and resurfaces the roads, he'll probably use the rest. He's got a contract that's piggybacking off the state, so typical way we usually do the striping, so.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second to authorize the use of the aforementioned company, which is Alpha Space Control. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
The next thing on the agenda is a public works agreement for Margaret Barrel. I hear the Quaker Neck. It's been a while coming, but she had a building permit several years ago that didn't include the notification that there was an accessory or a building or a home in this accessory structure, and apparently it never got picked up by the inspector or what have you, and then it got brought to our attention by the town of Chestertown, and so we've made the correction. We back paid the town of Chestertown the fees that they are due, and now we're finally getting the public works agreement signed, and she's paid off for that, so I need to get that signed.
To approve.
Second.
Probably moving second to assign the aforementioned public works agreement. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
And the third thing on there is the sale of some vehicles, some used vehicles from the sheriff's office. And Jim put it out to bid. As you can see in there, he's recommending we take the highest bid for the vehicles. First vehicle is recommended to go to Mr. Gazelle for $1,026. And the second vehicle is also recommended to go to him for $826. And the third vehicle is also recommended to go to Mr. Gazelle for $1,026. And the fourth vehicle is going to his son, Cody Gazelle, for $75. So, look for a
Second.
Probably moving second to approve the bids as submitted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously. That's it. And officially, welcome aboard
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
And can't you advise the commissioners that the easement, the agreement for the collection system out to Georgetown is now all the appropriate signatures?
All but M&T Bank, and they're in the process of signing it now. Yes, it's
That issue we had has been taken care of.
Still no money changing hand, right?
no, no.
I'm sure things hadn't changed.
No.
Okay.
It had changed because it's signed.
Right, that's the important part.
Original proposal, the easement.
Okay.
So the project can move forward now.
Yes, I got a meeting next week with the funding agencies and engineers to get this project moving forward.
Have you met Linda Lovelady?
I know her because she's from Easton and sits right close to where I live, but I have never had the occasion to.
Well, since her office is near my office, if you want to get together and we can go up and I'm supposed to go see her Thursday, but I'll call you.
Okay.
If you want to go up there and bend her ear.
Yeah, okay. Not a problem with that.
Smiling face, you know.
And she's taken that Mr. William McGowan's place
That's
as
my
the state
understanding.
representative for
That's
USDA.
That's my understanding. Yes.
She's responsible for all Delmarva.
Oh, is she?
Delaware, Maryland.
Yeah, Delmarva. And
Yeah.
Virginia. That's what I was told.
Okay, I think it's just Delaware and Maryland, but I could be wrong. But I think that's right.
I could be wrong, but I think it's right. That's the old Wayne.
That's the old Wayne.
He's back. Thank you, Wayne. Marty Hale, Director of Human. Oh,
Thank you.
Marty Hale, Director of Human Resources.
Marty, that's a tough act to follow.
I may be better, I may not. I think I'm going
Okay, thank you. Tonight we have a couple of vacancies to fill, so before you, the first up is recommendation to fill 2 vacant paramedic positions in the Office of Emergency Services. It's in the briefing template that who left, and we interviewed, and we had 5 applicants. 4 met the minimum, 3 were chosen to interview. We conducted the interviews on October 30th, and David Rice, Wayne Darrell, and myself were present, and we made the following recommendations for the 2 paramedics.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, it's probably moving second to hire the selected individuals to fill the 2 vacant full-time paramedic positions in the Office of Emergency Services as requested, pending successful completion of county pre-employment requirements. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
And it seems to be public safety night. So next up is a recommendation to hire a vacant correctional officer in the detention center. The vacancy was created due to a retirement. Panel convened of Colleen Boswell, Corporal Mike O'Neill, Corporal Boswell, and myself. 3 interviews. On October 12th. Actually, we forwarded 3 applicants to the warden, who held a second interview and made the recommendation of the individual listed.
Very good.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second to approve the individual candidate to fill the vacant correctional officer position in Kent County Detention Center as requested, pending successful completion of county pre-employment requirements. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
Okay, a slight detour from public safety. Next up is a recommendation to fill a vacant aquatics recreation program coordinator at the Parks and Rec Department. This one is going to change slightly, and I'll explain it. But we actually had both recreation program coordinators resigned, so we have a current advertisement for the second one. However, we conducted interviews on October 30th and 31st. Jill Coleman, Myra Butler, and myself were present. We interviewed 15, met the minimum qualifications, and 5 were chosen to interview. And we made the recommendation that you see there. We also have a second, a runner-up, and that second runner-up may change depending upon the outcome of the offer to the first candidate. If there are any changes that are, any changes will be brought forward to you. So we're actually asking for approval of what you see in front of you.
Well, what's that mean?
Well, we're recommending a first and a second.
Right.
Okay. If the first declines, the second is actually a better candidate for the program coordinator piece of the at Parks and Rec as opposed to the aquatics.
If the number 1 candidate doesn't accept the salary that's offered, is that what you're saying?
Nice.
That's here, but if there's a chance that we may come back and ask for us to give the second runner-up the other position, the program coordinator.
So right now, we're just making a motion to
Yes.
approve what you've got in front
Any
of us.
changes will be brought back for you, yes, next week or the week after.
You just said just kind of confuses the issue.
It did, but
Bring it up.
I've given you a heads up that the second choice is better suited for the other job. But it was too late to pull this back, so we're asking for approval, and if anything changes, we'll come back in front of you.
That's perfectly clear.
It's
As much.
perfect. See, I said I may be better, I may not.
I'm
Right
gonna
now,
say
it
not.
stands. We're asking for what stands here. If anything changes, we'll be back.
There you go. I'll make a motion to approve that.
Just giving you a heads up that we may be back.
And we've got it.
You're here every
Second.
week. It's probably moving second to hire the recommended individual to fill the vacant aquatics recreational program coordinator position in the Parks and Recreation Department as requested, pending successful completion of county pre-employment requirements. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
And I'll just follow you up with, that was a long meeting trying to figure out what to do about all this, so.
I don't think you have.
We have it straight up here. If
You
anything
say
happens,
up here?
we'll be back, and I'll say, remember last week or the week before when I said that we may be back?
That doesn't count.
All right, well, then we'll frame it pretty good next time. All right, and lastly is back to public safety. We're recommending, we have a vacancy, a full-time vacancy as a dispatcher out at emergency services, and we're recommending moving a current part-time employee into a full-time slot.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second to approve the moving a current emergency services dispatcher in the Office of Emergency Services from part-time to full-time as requested. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, thanks.
No, I want to ask you a question about our issues with our revised personnel manual. Have those things been resolved? Is that what it is?
Where that stands, well, first of all, we wrote into the manual what was discussed at the last meeting about grandfathering people in November 1st. That's the one side of the health insurance. And there's another issue
With the workers' comp?
with the workers' comp. And so we've gotten together our documentation. The insurance company, the liability company actually, sent a couple of emails explaining the situation. It's all packaged and was slated to go before you on the 21st. I don't know if that's sidelined or not. I got with Pat briefly and mentioned that it was out there, but I didn't know when it was going to be handled at this point.
It looks like that through the emails and everything that it's substantiated already effective in so many other places, and it works very efficiently. The emails they sent as far as payouts and everything, they seem very efficient. So other than us not doing it right or doing it the way we used to do it, which wasn't necessarily the right way to do it, it looked like it was something that's been proven. And
it's proven. I mean, we're one of 27% of the employers out there that go above and beyond. So the majority of them are administering workers' comp the way the law was intended. We, for whatever reason, I inherited that we did it a different way. And we've had a couple of situations where employees have been out for a period of 1 year. As a matter of fact, after a year, I kind of say, we need to know one way or the other whether you're able to return in a relatively short period of time or you're not going to be able to. And in some cases, when that's occurred, they've lodged other complaints against us. But we have a couple of times where it's lasted a year and it cripples the department, especially a small department. It hamstrings them because we're paying the salary. We don't have the extra money to hire. We can't backfill in any way. I also, can turn that to a situation where there was a perpetual next month, and finally, I exercised our right to assign the employee to a department and working 40 hours a week, and the day after his first report, he was miraculously healed and went back to work.
That department had healing powers.
Yes. So, and I don't know if you read the emails from the insurance company, but actually by the time the policy was approved, they had started an email congratulating us on administering the workers' comp the way the federal law was written, the way the state laws are written, and felt that it would go to reduce our liability in the future.
Okay.
But there was a group of people, and I won't mention it by the names of them, that had expressed concern about it. I thought we were going to, before we had the issue, here in the county that slowed us up a little bit, the unfortunate issue. I thought I'd like to see us sit down with that group of people and explain what's going on and see if,
And I believe that's still going to occur.
Okay.
I mean, we put together our side of it. I think they produced a letter, they wrote a letter.
They get that group, they're used to doing it one way, and for what, they in their minds, right or wrong, and I'm not an expert on workman's comp by no means, but they're not comfortable with the change. I'd like for you to go make a point to go out there and talk with them, you or whoever else, and explain it to them and see if you can convince them or explain it to where they may understand it better or be more comfortable with it.
Would you be better off explaining it?
Well,
It's just logistics of how the plan works, but is it better to bring the division chief in here so we all understand it?
well, I actually was not aware that you wanted me to go out there, or I would have done it. I actually thought that the discussion was going to take place here.
I think our offices went through, that there was some turmoil within our office here that set us back a little bit, but that, unfortunately, that was discussed there, that there's this group that we would like to see have a better understanding of the change before we enact it.
Okay, and I could do that. I have the letter that they issued, so I mean, I think there's 4 points in there. I mean, I certainly can offer our side of it. I just thought that was going to be a discussion we were.
Be there to answer any questions and see if we can make them feel a little more comfortable with the change.
I'll schedule something. I'll try to schedule something, not for tomorrow, but I'll try to schedule something tomorrow for the near future.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that.
Sure. Is that it? Okay. Confusions a little?
Robert Edler, alcohol, beverage, and tobacco inspector.
He'll flub it up.
Okay, the first item I have tonight, each year the county receives grant funding to implement the cigarette restitution fund, tobacco use prevention, and the cessation program. We get the grant from the health department. It's used for enforcement activities, including spot inspections, compliance checks, and education. You have 2 documents, the tobacco enforcement MOU and the tobacco grant itself. I would request they both be approved as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second to approve the FY18 Tobacco Enforcement Memorandum of Understanding and the FY18 Tobacco Enforcement Grant as submitted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
Second item, just an FYI, on October 31st of this year, license 4095, which had been issued to the Blue Heron Cafe Incorporated, expired, and the license holder is not renewing their license.
Because.
And the last one is also informational. A Class C license for beer, wine, and liquor was issued to the Rock Hall Fire Department for an event that was held on November 4th at the Rock Hall Fire Company. The request came in after the Commission's last meeting, and it was held without incident.
Very good. Is that it? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Acting County Administrator.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things tonight. The first one has to do with a letter of credit release. We had originally received letters of credit from the Citizens Bank for sediment control project, and we have received replacement letters from BB&T that meet the surety requirements, so we're recommending to release the original letters of credit.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second to release the Citizens Bank irrevocable letters of credit for sediment control and landscaping. Return that to the Citizens Bank. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
Okay, the second item, we have some vacancies in the Social Services Advisory Board, there's a recommendation for a candidate to fill vacancy on that board.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second to appoint the recommended individuals to the Kent County Social Services Board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously.
Okay, the next one is a request for approval, reappointment of 3 members to the Ethics Commission. Requesting that you approve the reappointment of
Motion to approve.
Second.
Probably moving second to reappoint 3 members for 3-year terms to the Ethics Commission as recommended. All those in favor say aye. Motion is carried unanimously.
Okay, and the last item is to, excuse me, accept the recommended candidate indicated there to fill 1 expired term with Kent County Library Board of Trustees, and the 2 full terms on the same board.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving second to accept the recommending candidates to fill 1 expired term and 2 full terms on the Board of Library Trustees. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously. Okay. Tom?
I have a certificate of satisfaction for you for a county housing improvement program mortgage. The property is being sold, so the unforgiven amount of the mortgage is was paid, $1,058.20, which was the amount due on the mortgage, and that has been paid in full. So I would recommend that you sign, Commissioner President Pickram, sign the release, and we'll record that in land records.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Party moving second to approve the signing of a certificate of satisfaction for releasing the loan for the aforementioned, the submitted mortgage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. The second matter I have before you is a community partnership agreement. This is between the state, the county, and the LMB for state funding for the LMB. I've reviewed this and also signed it. The LMB is signed. I think this was before you previously. The state required the LMB chair and executive director to sign it at the same time or on the same date. And so it got sent back, and they have executed it properly. I've signed it. It's now before you to sign. I would recommend that you sign.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Probably moving second to approve the community partnership agreement between the state of Maryland and the Kent County Local Management Board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously.
Wait, before we go into
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Sandra, would you put that thing up on the, I'm not sure exactly why I'm asking Sandra to do this, other than it's a graph talking about the school funding throughout the state. And there's 3 columns up there.
Oh, that might be
One
too
of them is the federal funding, and this is a pure per pupil cost.
I can try.
There's a per pupil cost.
Yes. I just have to find the plus sign.
She do.
I gotta find the plus sign.
Gotcha.
There we go. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
There's a per pupil cost under the federal, and the first column is what the feds contribute to our education system. The second one is what the state contributes per pupil to our education system. And then the third line is our local, which is the county. And the fourth one is some miscellaneous stuff. And total in the fifth one. And you know, I've been here 20 years, and I knew there was some differences in the way the formula worked, but I really wasn't completely. I didn't understand all of the differences, and I've shown this to some people throughout Kent County, And they actually couldn't believe it, too. And one of the things that strikes me odd is that everybody in the state of Maryland supposedly has one state government. And we all are under the same state umbrella. We all pay the same tax per the assessed value of your property. When you pay your state taxes, I mean, we don't pay any different or any more or any less rate than Montgomery or anybody else pays. We all pay the same thing.
At the state level.
Huh?
At the state level.
At the state level, absolutely. I'm just talking about state right now. But our state contributes $6,000, I think it's $6,150 per pupil for our kids in Kent County to be educated. At the same time, they pay the kids in Baltimore City, or they pay Baltimore City $12,000 some dollars per pupil for education. Now, if you look all the way over to the right, Kent County is in 6th place as far as the total cost per pupil. But Kent County spends we spend we spend $9,000 some dollars per pupil out of our taxpayers in Kent County spend $9,000 some dollars per pupil for our students in Kent County. You go to Baltimore City, they pay $3,400 per pupil because the state is giving them the $12,000, so they only have to come up with $3,000 per pupil. Where with us, they only give us $6,000, so we have to come up with $9,000. But that just amazes me, to be honest with you, that there's that big a difference. Now, if you look in the line of the feds, I don't know what formula they use, but we're sort of right in the money there somewhere. But when it gets to the state, it's based on, supposedly this formula is based on the wealth of the county. Now, we have a lot of wealthy people renting waterfront properties in Kent County, but we also have 60% of our students are on assisted lunch program. And when people, some people want to come in here and I guess this is where I take it a little personal, that they want to come in here and beat up on the county because the answer to all the problems in education, in some people's minds, it's never enough money. Well, if I was looking at that chart and I was going to point the finger at somebody, it would be hard for me to point at the county, but I guess we're the easiest to come talk to, so we catch the devil. But if you looked at the state contribution, I mean, there's let me see, let me give you another example. Caroline County, just a county, 2 counties over. They get $10,000, I think that's $267 or something per student from the state. So their taxpayers only have to come up with, is that $2,595?
Yes.
Per pupil. Where our taxpayers, 2 counties over, we're coming up with $9,000 something. And we are in 6th place as far as total. Something to be pretty proud of for Kent County, in my opinion. I don't know how the state justifies this formula that we're falling under. There's even talks that when they took a look at redoing this formula, that we're so rich in Kent County that there was talk that we wouldn't get any state money.
That's the Kerwin Commission.
Huh?
The Kerwin Commission.
Yeah, they looked at it, and that's what they thought. I want us to keep, and I'll tell you what, one of the reasons. I've shown this chart to probably a dozen people that I a lot of respect for throughout the county. And their first comment to me was, "You got to be kidding me. That can't be right." I just don't think that the people of Kent County, the average person in Kent County, I don't think has a clue what's on that chart up there and how lopsided the funding mechanism is for, I mean, look, I'm going to tell you something. The kids in Kent County, I think, worth just as much as the kids in Baltimore City. But yet they get twice as much money given by the state of Maryland to them. I just don't understand. I told my pastor, I showed him, out to the Churchtown Baptist Church, who runs the school himself. He said, "I can't understand I don't know how they get away with that. You got to be kidding me. Who put that chart out? That come from MACO, Maryland Association of Counties. That's as accurate as you can get."
Well, why don't we make an investment in the Kent County News, maybe the whole front page,
I would like
and put that whole thing on there?
Billy, you took the words out of it. That's why I brought this up to talk about, because I don't think the people know how generous, number one, that Kent County is, and then how lopsided this formula is. So I would ask that we put that in there, and when people want to come in here and talk about funding, I think they ought to take a look at that chart first. Now, I'm not saying that we're given that we don't have issues. I mean, that don't tell the whole story, but it certainly tells a big part of it. So I would like to see us run that in the Kent County News, and
big.
What, and if you have
and put a little article at the bottom of it, just saying that, basically saying this, we think it's important enough to show how this funding is. I don't know what you say. Whether it's, to me, it's awful lopsided, and I think Kent County citizens ought to be proud of what we invest in education. And a lot of times we sit here and it's all the mean old county commissioners. Now I'm on my soapbox, so I'm going to take it one step forward. I'd also like to have, because we went through this consolidation and this school bus debacle, and I'd like to know if we could have Board of Ed come in at some future date, whenever they feel comfortable, and just tell us how it's all working. I'd like to know as a county commissioner.
Second.
And I also want to extend an olive branch to them a little bit. You know, instead of coming in here like some people have done in the past and saying, you guys ain't worth weight in salt. You don't do this. You won't give us enough money. I've never yet seen a group, anybody from the Board of Ed come in to the three commissioners and say, "You know what? We got this one problem in school that we can't take care of. I mean, could you help us with this one thing?" All they ever do is come in and holler they need more money with no explanation of where it's going to be spent.
Not the school board. You're talking about?
I'm talking about nobody from the school system has come to us and said, we're really having trouble at a certain school. We'd like to have one more English teacher.
What has happened when they submit their funding request, we usually parse it out and say, okay, we will pay this particular item.
Right.
So it won't come in there. Like, for example, the computers. We
Football
buy
field.
football, all those things. We do it ourselves. But you're absolutely right. And several years ago, we had the discussion about should we not go to court, the state of Maryland, saying we want equal protection under the law. I think you were around, Tom, when we
Yeah. Right.
We didn't because of the cost.
One thing that's very significant here is you note that we ranked number 6 out of 24 as far as total per pupil. But if you look at
Just
how much
local
we pay,
contribution.
we're number 4. We're
Right.
4 out of 24 when you look at what this board pays.
Absolutely. There's only 3 counties out of 24 that do more per pupil than we do. And only 5 above us when you total it all together. And I tell you, we do the same thing every budget session. Well, I'll say county roads. They come in, we approve a budget. if they wreck a dump truck or something and it's not budgeted, they'll come to us and say, you know, we really need, this is out of budget, but it's a legitimate expense. I bet you that if the schools took that attitude, that we would have a lot better working relationship. If they come in and said, we need a little extra throughout the year for this, not just come in here and say, we never get enough money. Because they never, my greatest friend in Kent County, Mrs. Robbie Baer, who I know she's probably listening, and I'll catch the devil for pointing her out. But they've come in here and complained that we don't give enough money. They never say what they're going to do with it. It's just you guys don't give us enough money. Well, if we don't give enough money, them county commissioners in Caroline County must really be catching hell. We give $9,000 per pupil, they give $2,500, and we don't do enough. I thank you for your patience. I feel better.
Ronnie, I didn't know you were going to show this, but there's another cut of this slide that I have on the Q drive that shows the percentages that I think would be also. Can you get to the Q?
I can.
Can you go to the finance drive?
And just so I had a conversation with the superintendent today about all this that's happening right now, and she absolutely knows that if she comes here after they get done with the consolidation process, that she'll know better what her finances are like, and she don't want to bring nothing to us until she knows what her finances is like. So she's saying the same exact thing. I need to have all this together. We need to come in, and if we need this or that, then we need to just ask.
Believe me, I'm not complaining about any. Well, I was about a certain couple people, but I was complaining. You're right. But look, we're here to make this thing work.
Right.
And but I think these graphs are extremely. They tell a story.
Yeah, and just to point out a couple things, this takes exactly the same data, Ronnie, that you had, and puts it on a percentage basis. If you look at Kent, and you look at state, they contribute 38.1% to the total Board of Ed. Statewide average, 48.3%. So in Kent County, the state gives 10% less. Look at the county. We contribute 56.5%. The state does 47.2%. So on a percentage, these are just, it's funny because it's the same chart, it's just on a percentage basis. But
this would be what the state does to us, in my opinion, would be no different than the Board of Ed and us saying, we like Galena School better than we do Rock Hall and Chestertown. Let's give them a lot more money. And Rock Hall, you're okay. We'll give you a little. It's the same as, how do they get, I think that all that money ought to go in a pot, and if you got a kid, you divide it by the number of kids in the state of Maryland, and everybody gets the same. I don't know how you justify saying a kid in Baltimore City is worth $12,000 and a kid in Kent County is worth $6,000. That was put out by Maryland Association of Counties, and I've been debating for about a month now whether to bring that up, and I thought that's worth people seeing. And I hope we do put it in the Kent County News in big letters, and we're willing to pay for it. So if my colleagues agree, that should be put in the paper.
Sure. So moved. Out of discretionary funds.
Discretionary.
It's non-discretionary today.
Out of contingency.
Contingency, yeah.
Okay. But it's just staggering that we're sixth in the state with county funding, and the state funds Kent at the 19th out of the whole state. So the state, with funding that they give to each county, Kent County receives the 19th.
We're the lowest.
19th out of 24 from state.
Look at Caroline. 74% of their money that goes to education comes from the state.
Right.
38% of theirs comes from the state.
Right.
Yep.
That's double. I remember one time they were all thrilled to death. They come in here, the senators and stuff. That's when Senator Pipkin was here. You were here, yep. William, and he come in here. We got a supplemental budget.
That's right.
And they sent it to us, and I'll never forget. It was Caroline was going to get like $1.8 million. That's right. Cecil County was going to get like $1.5 million. Queen Anne's was $1.6 million or something, and Kent County was $300,000. I don't think I'll ever forget them numbers.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. We just we get the short end of the stick when it comes to this educational funding. And if you leave it up to the Kerwin Commission, we're going to get less. As long as we sit, listen, when it comes to politics, they go after the low-hanging fruit, and that's what we are. We got one delegate, and we share a senator with 4 other counties, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Montgomery County. They got the power, and it proves it right. That shows it right there. So thank you for listening to me. I'm done.
That's very accurate what you said. Say that again here because I was sitting here.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
But your face got a little redder back there.
Well, I'm a little more seasoned now, Bob. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions at all from the media? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Can you speak up just a little? Or come up front. I couldn't hear anything you were saying.
Didn't know I was getting mic'd. So I mentioned that Wayne Morris had said he had been here on an as-need basis. What does that mean specifically in terms of hours a week?
Basically
20 hours.
a week.
20 hours, all right. And then I also know that his position was vacant until it was filled. His position was vacant again until it was filled.
Year and a half.
Who took on his day-to...
2 years.
So where did his day-to-day responsibilities go from there? Just
We're letting each one of the individual departments out to the public works
Yeah,
department.
each one of the divisions, the road division.
County roads, their person was taking care of their problems. There was nobody at the top.
okay, gotcha.
division chiefs, so each division has a division.
Okay,
So they handle their own.
And
gotcha.
each one of the divisions reported to the county administrator, which put a lot more on the administrator's plate.
Gotcha.
We've actually been advertising for a year for a new
Public Works.
public works director, and we've had 2 hires and 2 didn't show up.
Right.
So
Right, it's still being advertised now, even with
advertised,
Wayne's.
correct.
Right.
So it's, as it says, temporary.
Gotcha. And then,
Pull that ad now.
when was his first day on the job, Mr. Morris's?
I'm sorry?
When was his first day on the job, Mr. Morris's? Because I went back and looked. Was he approved at the October 25th
Right.
session of the
And we
meeting?
didn't have a meeting last week, so we closed out. We showed the closed session meetings tonight.
Right.
We ran them off tonight.
So I'll be able to find all that information in the minutes from last time. Yeah. All right, that's all I have, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Jen Kravchuk. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a second grader at Rock Hall Elementary School as well as a kindergartner. And so my daughter has been there for 3 years now. This is her 3rd year. And last night a bunch of parents went to the Board of Ed meeting because we have some concerns about what we're seeing post-consolidation. I am a volunteer in the school. I am a room parent. I drop my kids off in the mornings to their classroom. I pick them up. And so there's a lot that I've seen. And in the 3 years that we've been at the school, this is the first time that I'm concerned about her safety and that I seriously feel that her education's being compromised. We went from 2 classes in her 2nd grade. She's always had 2 classes of about 18 children. And now we have 2 classes of about 25 children. And I know 25 kids does not sound like a lot. It's pretty standard these days. But the issue is that in her class, I've been there are about 5 or 6 children his behavior is out of control, and this is new this year. Basically, you're bringing in 100 extra kids, and any problems that you had before are just being compounded. The behaviors are, we've had lockdowns where you have a child who's out of control, and you cannot restrain them, so you get the rest of the kids out of the room. You lock down the school. They've called medical personnel to come in and help this child. Now, this child has been removed from the school, and I don't know the details, but we anticipate that she will be back. That's one child. Other children are throwing desks, standing on tables, running from the classroom. Profanity is being used at the teachers and children on a daily basis. I have never seen all of this before the past 2 months. And we've been speaking with the principal. She's working really hard with what she has. She's working late nights because during the day she's being called in the office to pull these children out of class. It's against the law to suspend a second grader or younger. So, you know, we asked about in-school suspension. Well, post-consolidation, we are told we don't have the resources for that. We don't have a room. We don't have any extra rooms that are outfitted, that are finished. We don't have a faculty member to sit with those children. So, you know, we had meetings with the principal. We said, okay, what can we do? How can we make this better? They did put a long-term sub in my daughter's class, and it's helping, but the behaviors aren't, they're still happening. We just have another person who's able to, you know, put out the fire. But everything's continuing. The behavior's not lessening. So our principal has said, you know, ideally, other schools like Garnett have a full-time social worker. We need somebody who can come in here and handle these behaviors, who's trained for these behaviors, and change them, work at changing them, and supporting the parents, supporting those students, supporting the teachers. I've spoken to my daughter's teacher. She's been teaching for over 20 years, and she told me, I'm using all my tools, everything I know how to do, but I feel like I'm sinking. I need someone to come in here and help me figure out what, you know, teach me what to do. So last night we presented the board and we asked, you know, and it was one of those things where it's not a dialogue, you present. At the end, I asked Dr. Couch and the board members, okay, well, what's the next step? What happens now? And I was told we don't have the resources. And I said, well, can we figure out how much it would cost if we want a behavior specialist or a social worker? Can we figure out how much that costs? And then, you know, go to the county commissioners and say, can we have this money? And I was told, well, no, we don't want to push anyone into a corner.
I think, I don't want to.
So that's what I'm asking. I mean, we talked about this a minute ago. This is one of those situations where I don't want to wait 6 more months, a year. I like to get the conversation going and have somebody listening to us and they're looking at the situation and taking it seriously.
Like the conversation I had a conversation with Dr. Couch today about this, and it's a matter of her, and she understands that, to put together.
Did you talk about this issue? You mentioned you were talking to her today. Yeah, did this come up?
And just how we can address it. And, you know, at this point, she's still got to figure out that process because apparently there was a teacher that was out on
yes.
leave.
So my
and that part of what she knows how to do instead of a substitute knows how to do is being implemented now because of.
So to comment on that, my child's in the other class. So her class was stacked with the children that have a history because we had the experienced teacher. So my child, you know, the other class may be improving, maybe, but my class is, I mean, there's 5 or 6. I'm not exaggerating that there's that many in that class.
Well, my point is, just like Ronnie said, you know, once Dr. Couch puts her program together, we've never turned them down for anything. So if it's something that she needs in Galena, Rock Hall, wherever this need is, if she comes here and she can show in her budget all the different savings that she's done through consolidation, and that's all we've asked her to do is to show how all that's being implemented, where that money's going to, and if she needs additional funding, we've all three sat here and said she can have additional funding, but we need justification for that funding and what it's for. So if teachers are short, if there's a shortage of teachers or counselors, all that can be implemented, but we need numbers. We need those things. And that
also,
was,
you know, granted, we are not educational specialists, but we are very sensitive as far as what goes on in schools. And you know, I'm a college professor. 22-year-olds and 21-year-olds don't act the same way. I shouldn't say that. Sometimes they do. They do. I don't mean to make light of the situation, but the idea is that, as Commissioner Short said, it's incumbent upon superintendent and the school administration and the school board to make that request of us.
And they're only 3 months into it, so they're still figuring it out too. I mean, this consolidation's been a huge change for Kent County. And it's not over yet, I don't think. I mean, this is years to go, changes that are going to have to happen. But I think she's well qualified, and I think she will take everything you guys said and come to us when the time is there to see if that justification's there.
I mean, they come in here when they had the school, the problem with the buses and stuff.
Right.
And everything they asked us for, we
We
did.
gave 'em.
We allowed them to park the buses on county property, fuel from us. Everything they asked for us for that night we gave it to them.
I was here.
So,
I remember that.
you know, we'll take a look at anything, but the requests got to come from the people that are supposed to be the experts. Like William just said, we're not education experts. But we do keep an eye on the funding of Kent County. And so the request is going to have to be made and make a good argument for it. And I don't know the last time we've turned them down when they've got a specific need.
So,
Just gotta let us know.
okay, so that's why I'm here, because
Now,
last...
there's a limit. So
Yeah.
But if something's really needed in this county, doesn't matter if it's county roads or the Board of Ed or who it is. I mean, we've been over very few times people get told no in here if they got a good story to tell.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm here tonight, because when we spoke last night, she told me we don't have the resources. We kept pushing, like, okay, well, come on, there's got to be something we can do. And it's just, her response just seemed like, we don't have the resources, talk to your principal. And so that's why I'm here tonight. So I'm kind of stuck on, okay, well, she has to come here and propose, and it didn't sound like last night that was going to happen, but perhaps the conversation you had with her, maybe there's something going on behind the scenes.
Proper numbers together, put it together so we understand where that budget's gone since the consolidations happened. I mean, I already know they got a shortfall in FY19. I think we all know that. The money dries up in FY19 just because of cost of running the school systems for what their savings was. So, I mean, we understand that. It's just a matter of Dr. Couch putting those numbers together and the school board putting those numbers together and coming back to us and saying X, Y, Z, this is what we need and this is why we need it.
And if you see, we do conduct our meetings very differently than the school board does. And that's their style, and we have our style. They both work, okay? And we are very sensitive to what you said, and as it was Commissioner Short said, we're open.
Okay.
But we got to rely upon those who are paid to be the experts to do that.
So I have to work on that end then. I need to get them here.
And we will too.
Yeah, I think she knows she needs to be here.
Yeah.
And that's what was one of my requests. When the time's right and they're comfortable coming, they got the story to tell. They need to come talk to us. Just don't assume that.
And they haven't been shy in the past. So.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert.
Yes, Bob.
One thing that you can get caught up in comparing percentages and everything, and it can be very, very misleading because a lot of people take averages of percentages. That's that. But if you take a look at the counties, our 24 school districts, and take the number of students they have, divide it by the number of residents, you get a percentage. It's pretty easy for us. It's about 10%. And then you look at the percent of their budget, because that's been the crux of some of the arguments. Now, you have 10% versus, let's say, 37% or 40% that we have if you include in the capital expenditures. Take a look at the other counties, and the small counties like Garrett and Somerset, we're going to be, it's just totally different, because you look at how many, the higher percentage of their population is going to their schools. And so, if it's 20%, then it's going to be a lot closer to their total expenditure percentage, right? It's going to be more than 37%. So you start looking at it, and that accentuates what you're saying, right? And you look at it, we're a small county. We have a small percentage probably the smallest, because when I last looked at it about 6 years ago, we had a lot more people. So if we have the smallest percentage of our population going to our schools, ergo, why wouldn't we have a smaller percentage of our budget?
Oh, you're talking about the pie chart.
And that's why.
Regardless of whether it adds up to 100%, it still would be the percentage of it.
But that's why that stat is not universally reported by anybody. The stat that I was showing, the one that shows the percentage of contribution to the school's total budget, is the one that people compare across counties because it's more consistent than if you try and do the other approach that you're describing.
Yeah, I know, because the denominators are obviously different. 20,000 here is a lot different than Montgomery and Howard and the other counties. So that's why getting into this percentage thing is, you really get yourself in a jammer by doing it. But I think if you look at that, it's pretty obvious that that is a lot smaller percentage, and that percentage keeps going down.
That's one way. But then you look at aggregate dollars, that's absolute.
Right, and then you get back to the real thing, then that's the chart that should go in the Kent County.
I think most everybody can understand when Baltimore City's kids get $12,000 a kid give to them for education, and the same government give Kent County's kids 6. That, is that a discriminate? I don't know what you call it, but that ain't fair. I don't care where you live, and I didn't ask people.
Everybody would rather live here than there.
Well, I won't blame them, but I don't. I think our kids deserve as much state funding as any other kid in the state.
Well, that's what it is. One Maryland. That's why it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, there's their Maryland and there's our Maryland, which is why we go ahead with our internet service here, because our kids and everyone else in our community deserves the same opportunities as those in Howard County and Montgomery County and Prince George's County, etc. So the state wouldn't step up to the plate, and neither would the federal government. So we did. Getting better. Anything else? You need good. You got the.
No, Tom.
Oh, well, he can't read that.
You got the closed session?
Closed session.
You want me to read it?
Somebody has to read this.
You got the. I'll make a motion that we go into closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We're in a closed session.
Just want to say nice to meet everybody again.
Nice to meet you, Jack.